the ranking member of this committee.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and Secretary Driscoll, General George, welcome to today's hearing. Thank you both for your service to the nation and the Army, and please convey the committee's appreciation for the men and women serving under your command. Let me first take a moment to recognize an historic milestone for the United States Army. This month marks the 250th anniversary of the founding of the Continental Army in 1775. Since then, millions of Americans have stepped forward to serve in the Army and protect their fellow citizens both on our own soil and abroad. For me personally, the opportunity to serve in the Army and to lead American soldiers was the privilege of my life. I'm proud to recognize this important moment in our nation's history. Today, the threats the Army faces would be inconceivable to its founding leaders. As we speak, China is working to challenge America's interest and leadership in the world. Vladimir Putin continues his vicious assault on Ukraine as a stepping stone in his imperial vision, and Iran seeks to exploit violence in the Middle East to expel the United States from the region. The United States Army, the most powerful ground force in the world, is fundamental to deterring and, if needed, confronting these threats. Secretary Driscoll, General George, last month you announced an ambitious plan called the Army Transformation Initiative. This initiative would, among other changes, reduce headquarters, consolidate commands, redirect funding, restructure infantry brigades, reduce procurement of ground vehicles and aviation systems. Now, I'm always open to considering new ways to improve efficiency and invest in the right technologies for the future. That has to be a constant imperative. However, I have questions about this initiative, including an analysis and rollout for the decision and the implementation plan. And gentlemen, I would ask that you discuss this plan in detail and explain your objectives to the committee. I would also note that it's difficult to fully discuss the Army's posture when we have yet to receive a budget request from the administration. This is quickly becoming the longest delayed budget submission in memory, and I urge the White House to deliver it quickly. To my understanding, in its fiscal year 2026 budget, the Department of Defense will request yet another flat budget for the Army. I'm concerned that we risk the Army's combat strength if we do not provide it with the resources it needs to continue full modernization. Secretary Driscoll, General George, I'm interested in hearing how the service is adjusting its operating concepts and force posture within these budget constraints. To that end, I'm very skeptical of the administration's deployment of more than 10,000 soldiers to the southern border, including elements of the 10th Mountain Division headquarters and a 4th Infantry Division Stryker Brigade, as well as the expansion of Army installations to create so-called national defense areas along the border. I'm also deeply concerned that Secretary Heg's Department of Homeland Security to activate more than 20,000 National Guard troops to carry out immigration enforcement operations deep within the country, and that nearly $1 billion is reportedly being diverted from barracks improvement activities to fund border operations to include border wall construction. Let me be clear, border security is a priority, and I voted for bills to harden our borders, tougher laws, and reform, but immigration enforcement is a mission that must be carried out by the Department of Homeland Security, not the Department of Defense. In my personal engagements with commanders at all levels, many of them have made clear that these border missions are deepening problems they're having with their training time, resources, and readiness. I'm aware that at least one brigade's combat training center rotation has been canceled to support this mission, and others are at risk. Secretary Driscoll, I'd like to know how you plan to ensure our soldiers' time, training, and capabilities are not needlessly wasted as the Army works hard to meet its existing demands. Ultimately, the Army's success depends on its soldiers and civilians. Over the past 2 years, the Army has made progress in recruiting activities and has enjoyed success with programs like the Future Soldier Preparatory Course. However, I am concerned that the administration's efforts to limit who serves and in what roles they may serve could have a chilling effect on recruiting and retention. There is room in the Army for all qualified volunteers. This includes at the United States Military Academy, where recent efforts to stifle education and narrow the student body represents an assault on merit and inclusion. Indeed, contrary to many of the administration's claims, I would argue that the current American soldiers and West Point cadets are some of the finest who have ever served, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this issue. Finally, I've recently visited a number of Army posts, including in Germany, Korea, Guam, and throughout the continental United States. I've been impressed by the work our soldiers and Army civilians are doing to not only train and equip warfighters, but also to incorporate lessons and knowledge from our foreign partners, including the tens of thousands of Ukrainians who have conducted training in Grafenwehr. As Ukraine's recent and indeed revolutionary drone operation deep within Russia demonstrates, the future of combat and UAS warfare in particular is evolving at a breathtaking speed. The Ukrainian drone operation should serve as a clarion call for every commander at every level about how they plan to protect their forces and installations at home and abroad at all times. I'd like to know what lessons and tactics the Army is learning from the conflicts in Europe and the Middle East, and what resources are needed. Again, I thank the witnesses for their participation today, and I look forward to the testimonies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.